I'm in rather a thoughtful mood. But whatever age you are, it struck me there's a common thread running through language. And for me, it's possibly the major benefit of learning a language. It was something that was touched on when I got my degree. The guy at the front stood in his cap and his gown and told us all about how languages help the world to be a better place. Sounds a little trite, but it really is something that's quite true. And I think the basic element is because it forces you to forgive. If the human race needs anything right now, it's practice at forgiveness. When you learn a language, you have to learn to forgive yourself. You get a lot of children, surprisingly a lot of children, who give up learning a language, or maybe they give up maths, or maybe they give up other things as well. But they, in my experience, they give up languages because they're so afraid of getting it wrong. You say, oh, this is how you say whatever the phrase is in Spanish, and suggest that they copy it, and they say, I can't. I think there's so much pressure on people to perform, league tables and exam results, and you have to get it right. I think they're so afraid of getting it wrong that they'd rather not say anything at all. It's a crying shame because we lose a lot of talent. A lot of bright young things give up languages because it seems too hard. They just judge themselves too harshly. I say something in Spanish and the child repeats it, and we use clapping to encourage rhythm. We use skip rope. You have to jump in time when you're skipping, and so we've done quite a few skip rope rhythms, like for instance, en medio del campo hay una escuela donde van las flores y las ovejas. So it's about a school in the middle of a field. It gets the children to loosen up, basically, because they are so busy trying to just jump over the skipping rope that they don't stumble over the words quite so much. But when you're in a classroom situation and you can't get a skipping rope out quite so easily, you say, oh, can you say this after me? And they go, I can't. I remember doing an A-level Spanish with a really intelligent girl called Fran, super hard working, and she just wouldn't say a word. Unsurprisingly, she didn't get a very high mark, and it seems such a shame. The thing that paralyses many of my students, child and adult, is the fear of committing an error. Many of the adults who come to Spanish clubs start off too frightened to form a sentence without checking a word in their dictionary in case it's wrong. But when we speak English, we don't worry about errors, and none of us speak English perfectly, yet we all communicate perfectly. We get our points across. That's what language is for. And I think we need to encourage our children and our adults and everybody speak more, think less. I hate grammar. I know we have to learn it, we have to use it, and it's very contentious to say, oh, don't learn grammar. I wouldn't say don't learn it, but sometimes it can be a stumbling block. When you're in a Spanish conversation group, in a class, but particularly in a conversational group like the one that I run in the afternoons, we have to forgive others as well. We have to forgive the people that correct us mid-sentence. just when we're probably congratulating ourselves for having done something rather well. And while we've been focusing on that, we've forgotten something else, and then they pick us up on that. You have to forgive quite a lot. We have to feel gratitude for other people's help. And they might be someone that you don't particularly have much in common with, but you're not there to make necessarily friends or good friends. You're there to practice your Spanish. You have to forgive total strangers when they interrupt us with questions. We'd come prepared, and we'd prepared stuff to talk about and practice a particular vocabulary, and then this perfect stranger starts asking us boring questions about a topic that we covered ages ago. There are people who talk at every opportunity and don't give you a chance to speak because it takes you longer to conjugate verbs and takes you longer to form a sentence. So you have to wait patiently for your opportunity. The people we learn Spanish alongside can frame our learning experience, and if those people are patient and forgiving and kind, then our experience of Spanish and whether we want to continue it is very different to if we're sitting in a group full of judgmental, awkward, difficult, impatient folk. And yet I haven't come across anyone like that yet, because I think maybe it's the people who are the kind and the patient that stick with Spanish, or that stick with learning a language, because you need those qualities just to persevere. And maybe it draws out those qualities in you and helps you find them when you didn't know you had them. So yeah, there's plenty of forgiveness of others. And I suppose in my particular life at the moment is the forgiveness that we need to keep working on is family forgiveness. So this idea of my children having to forgive me because I keep banging on about Spanish at them, and my little boy sometimes has said, "Why do we always have to talk Spanish?" He hasn't said that in a while now, actually. I'm starting to win that war. He doesn't question it quite so much. But I don't know. I think learning a language certainly brings out many qualities. Forgiveness is right up there. And why wouldn't you want your children to learn to count and to learn to read and all of these things? But those sorts of qualities, patience, endurance, perseverance, self-belief and forgiveness are some of the biggest qualities to come out of learning a language, and who wouldn't want that for their kids? So if you're thinking about what subjects your child should be taking on further into year 10, year 11, and you're wondering, will they really need a language? And we might not go to Spain for our summer holidays. It's not really just about that. Try and think about the wider qualities and the wider strengths that learning a language will give your kids, any language. But Spanish is right up there, because there's Chinese has got the biggest population, and I think Spanish is the next most biggest population, and but they're all over the world, and it's a growing community, and it's an exciting time to be learning Spanish. So I'm just going to leave that there. I'm throwing down the gauntlet to you all. Learn Spanish. Good night.